I would like to invite Dr. Altaf Sumra, who's a specialist clinical psychologist and university lecturer. Dr. Sumra has completed his doctoral thesis on improving access to psychological provision. You can tell I've had no food, I do apologize. Psychological provision to refugees from the Middle East, and clinically works with alleviating unprocessed trauma with the clients he serves. Dr. Altaf Sumra.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you for having me here today. I am an academic. I'm going to try not to make this too medical or lecture-y, so do pull me up if you do get that vibe. Today I've noticed a phenomenon in our community. I'm going down a slightly different tact, but stay with me on this. One thing I've noticed is to do with our youth. I think we need to be very careful, and if we're not careful with this, there could be more issues later on. So this war, this conflict, this genocide is nothing new. This has happened for years and years. However, with the resurgence of social media, with the media in general, it's becoming more widespread. We're becoming more able to truly see the pain of these people. Now, this is difficult to watch. I think this is okay for it to be difficult to watch, because this is human pain, this is human suffering. We shouldn't become accustomed to seeing this. However, generally, it's good the fact that we can see what people are struggling with. However, my friends, this comes at a cost. The potential cost to this is that these images, these videos, these mass death that we can see, this is traumatizing our youth, it's traumatizing us. We can become immune to this. So we have to be very careful. Our adult brains sometimes struggle with seeing this too often. I've talked with friends, I've talked with families. If you watch this too much on the news, you switch off. Imagine how this feels for our children. How would they notice? How can they see this day in and day out? Their brains are processing this information differently. So therefore, we need to give them a change. We need to give them a chance to process what they're going through. So trauma in and of itself is called PTSD. Everyone heard of PTSD? Unfortunately, the people of Gaza don't have the opportunity to have PTSD because there's no post to their trauma. They are continuously traumatized. PTSD is when you have something happen to you and you can then process and work past it. They don't have this opportunity. They keep on getting traumatized. Now there's a concept called vicarious trauma. This is when we can get traumatized by their trauma. So our children are noticing what they're seeing on the screen and they're not allowing them to process it. So it affects them at school, it affects them at mosque, it affects them in their home life. So I'm not going to speak on too much more about this, but I want you to be aware of a few things. Parents, educators, I want you to be aware of a few things here. Is your child emotionally numb? Are they emotionally drained? Are they struggling to sleep? Are they struggling with a higher level of threat levels? Do they feel despair? Do they feel hopeless? Do they feel helpless? If they do, they may be suffering from some form of trauma. This is our responsibility to help them with this. I'll give you a mission. This is a threefold action plan. The first step is I want you to notice this firsthand. If you notice this, I want you to do something about it. The second thing is I want you to bring back the art of conversation. Let's talk to our children. Even after this event, during this event, ask them, how do you feel about what you've heard? How do you understand what you've heard? What does it make you think about? If we can do this, they'll make sure they don't get to the next stage. The last thing is that let's encourage them to show activities, bring them closer to the people of Palestine. Let's help them to fundraise. Let's help them to understand not just the history of the conflict, but also the history of the people, the art, the poems, the resilience. We talk a lot about the war, but we don't talk about the people, the resilience of the people there. The last few moments of Ramadan, I encourage you to show reflections, to make sincere dua in your Maghrib and Isha Salah for these people. Do not forget. Finally, these children are the leaders of our next generations. If we don't protect them now, we're in for a whole host of new issues later on. Let's help them to think about protecting them physically, socially, psychologically. Let's remove the stigma away from accessing help and support. If we can do this, we will have the leaders that will help bring peace to the Middle East. Thank you for your time. Ameen.